Hi, welcome to today's webinar. This is the April edition of our 2016 Law Enforcement Webinar Series. I'm John Beck, Law Enforcement Manager for Esri, and I'm joined today by Chris Delaney, our Patterns Lead. And today we're going to be showing you how ArcGIS can help you set up your own open data portal. Within an open data portal, you'll be able to build your own maps and apps to start sharing data about your agency with your community. Everything we show you today comes with your existing Esri licensing. And not only are we going to give you an overview of capabilities, but we're going to show you how to configure an open data portal for your organization using ArcGIS Online. As always, we'll take questions in the chat window during our presentation, and we'll also answer some questions at the end of the session. But first, let's get started talking about how we got where we are and why open data is important. August 9th, 2014, a white police officer in Ferguson, Missouri was shot and killed by a young black male, sparking a huge debate in the U.S. about the relationship between law enforcement officers and the African-American community. The militarization of police in the U.S. and the use of force nationally all became topics in this debate. Ferguson was followed by similar events in Baltimore, Chicago, L.A., New York, and the list goes on and on. But the common thread in all these events were questions about police, questions about police enforcement tactics and use of force practices, and were they targeting minorities? And these were all high-profile cases and received intense scrutiny from the press and the public. As a result, many began to question police accountability. Were the police policing themselves? The lack of organizational transparency and communication within the communities they serve. And police really lost the confidence and trust of these communities. So as a result, Barack Obama in December 2014 signed an executive order to initiate the President's Task Force on 21st Century Policing. This task force included police officers, social activists, academics, and members of the task force had the goal of receiving expertise, testimonials, and information from stakeholders and the public to identify the best practices in law enforcement and make recommendations focused on community policing. The final report was released in May 2015 and included these 6 pillars, the 6 pillars of 21st century policing. The first is officer wellness and safety, training and education, community policing and crime reduction, technology and social media, policy and oversight, and the final one is building trust and legitimacy. Within the building trust and legitimacy pillar, it was identified that data and technology could help improve public trust and police legitimacy through the creation of open data portals that would increase citizen access to information, increase police outreach to communities, increase transparency, and also reduce Freedom of Information Acts, the amount of time you spend servicing those those requests, sorry. But to realize this vision, the White House decided to create the Police Data Initiative, or PDI. This was created in May of 2015, and the objective of the PDI was to use open data to build transparency and increase community trust by releasing information to the public about use of force, crime incidents, calls for service, arrests, traffic and Terry stops, and officer-involved shootings. This effort was spearheaded by the White House and through public-private partnerships with companies like Esri and the Police Foundation. A portal of portals was created that all participating agencies could share data into and would connect to their open data portals. At last count, there were 30 police departments nationwide participating, and that number continues to grow. But what are the common challenges we see when implementing an open data portal? We generally see them fall into these 2 categories. The first, the technical challenges, include public-facing infrastructure to host open data. Where and how will your data be shared, and who's going to host it? Vendor costs. This one can be huge. Does the agency need to purchase a new software system to start sharing open data? Do they have budget for it? Limited resources to support the ETL processes. Who's going to support the extraction and transformation of the data into an open format? Disparate public-facing systems and apps. The data is coming from many different systems, and it also may want to be shared in many different public-facing systems and apps. What are these going to look like? And then there's the political challenges. These can include leadership, and elected officials might fear the public's reaction once they start sharing data. Police have not traditionally been comfortable sharing data, and this could be another barrier. Citizens want answers, not data. Yes, the data is great, but what does it mean to the citizens? Lack of context. Raw data without context might lack meaning. And managing the message. We want to be able to offer tools that help understand, police and the community understand the data, its context, and tell the story behind the data. Of course, at Esri, we think about everything in a location, geographic aspect, and all this data, all this open data has the one thing in common, that's location. This applies to open data as well as use of force data, officer-involved shootings data, crime data, calls for service data, and all of your community outreach activities. These all occur at a place and have a location associated with them. But is your open data strategy aligned with your location data strategy? That's what we're going to get into next. So let me turn over to Chris, and Chris, take it away.
Thanks, John, and good morning, everyone. So, can Esri technology support police open data in citizen outreach initiatives? Yes, and here's how. ArcGIS Online is a subscription-based service that provides a cloud-based portal for your agency, built to store and share your data, build web-based maps, and deliver those maps to users via configurable app templates that make it easy to create fully featured mapping applications without writing a lick code. As part of an ArcGIS Online subscription, a law enforcement agency gets access to 3 main capabilities to support outreach initiatives. First, an ArcGIS Open Data Portal. This is a component of ArcGIS Online that enables you to spin up your very own open data portal at no additional cost. Second, public-facing apps for open analysis. As part of ArcGIS Online, you get access to an array of configurable apps. In particular, apps to help you build rich, interactive public dashboards with your open data, and apps to build your own semi-custom mapping applications by combining function-specific widgets via a wizard interface. And next, citizen outreach apps. The configurable app templates that come with ArcGIS Online also support a number of apps for citizen outreach, especially story maps, which combine text, video, images, and interactive mapping capabilities to tell stories of good police work, upcoming police events, or to find information such as who my neighborhood officer is or what police district I live in. Through one single system, ArcGIS Online, law enforcement agencies are able to deliver to citizens a complete package of fully featured capabilities to improve trust and transparency. And the system enables agencies to grow over time, adding data and creating new apps as you need through easy-to-use interfaces with no coding required. So in addition to providing the capabilities we just described, ArcGIS Online helps to solve a lot of the challenges agencies typically run into that John referred to earlier. As ArcGIS Online is a cloud-based service, you don't need to host open data on your own infrastructure. The open data capabilities are included in the price of our ArcGIS Online offering, as are the other app capabilities we described. ArcGIS Online is a very cost-effective solution as well, starting at $5,000 a year, but many agencies may already own this capability without any additional cost due to their existing licensing, and I'll describe that in a little bit more detail later. As far as getting data into your open data portal goes, we offer a free-to-download tool that helps you automatically geocode and upload data to ArcGIS Online, which reduces the need for involvement of time-strapped DBAs. And from a technology management perspective, ArcGIS Online is ideal as it is one system for managing your data that your open data portal and all apps are part of, reducing the need to administer and manage disparate, separate public-facing systems. From a political perspective, ArcGIS Online helps you give citizens what they want, not only by making data available, but by enabling open analysis apps you create, which enable them to ask questions of your open data sets in an easy-to-use format. On the issue of fear of releasing data, the ability to provide context and manage your message is inherent throughout our app templates, especially in our story map templates that help you add the descriptive text, video, or images you need to contextualize the data citizens are accessing. So now what I'd like to do is take you through a quick tutorial to illustrate how easy it is to configure an open data portal on ArcGIS Online. So here I am in my example law enforcement ArcGIS Online organizational account. This is the account that I use to demonstrate the capabilities of ArcGIS Online for law enforcement agencies. And I'm going to walk through with you how you go about setting up an open data portal for using an ArcGIS Online organizational subscription. So the first thing I want to do is look at the layers that I want to share into my open data portal. To do that, I'll go to My Content. And I can see that I've got 3 layers. Police districts, police district offices, and parolees. These are the layers that I want to share initially into my open data portal. To share them, first I want to ensure that I have enabled their permissions for sharing. And by doing that, enabling permissions for sharing, I go to Share, I select Access, and I want to make sure that the checkbox to share them with the public, everyone, is enabled. I also want to share them into the group that will feed my open data portal. And so here I have a list of all of the different groups that are in my ArcGIS Online organizations. These groups can be things like business units. Here you can see Crime Analysis Unit. Or they can be project-specific tasks. And in addition, I want to share all of the layers that I want to make available to the public on my open data portal into a specific group. Here I've got an open data group selected that I'm going to share these layers into. So my data sets that I have are ready for sharing. If I wanted to add additional data sets, I could publish them using ArcGIS Desktop or ArcGIS Maps for Office using Microsoft Excel, or I could simply come here into Add Item and select a zipped shape file or file geodatabase and add it from my computer to publish it into my ArcGIS Online organization so that I could share it into my open data portal. The next thing I want to do is ensure that the group that I'm sharing all of these layers into is ready to use for the open data portal. So to do that, if I was going to create a new group, I would go here to the Create a Group button. I would be able to populate information about that group, things like the name of the group, a description of the purpose of the group, and other information. So I could add in the name of the group, a summary, a description, and then I'm going to make this group a public group, and I want to make sure that it is enabled for open data sharing. So if I can go back to my groups area, I'm going to show you my existing open data group that I have in this organization that I previously put together that has open data sharing available. So if I scroll down, I can see my open data group, click on Details to see information about this group. And I'll see an option here in the group that indicates that this group has been set up to support sharing. So if I go, now that I'm in this group, I can see the different layers that I've shared into this group. If I go to Edit, I can see that this data set, this organizational group has been set up for the public, and it's available to be shared as an open data set. In addition, one other thing that I want to have ready to use before I start to configure my open data site is to ensure that I've got my data appropriately tagged to support how I want to search for data in my open data site. If I go to the details on this parolee tab, I will see that I've got some tags associated with this particular layer. One of the tags here, I've got open data, I've got parolees, I've got a tag called crimes. I'm going to be using this crimes tag in the open data portal as a way to filter the different data sets in my open data portal, and I'll explain that more in just a minute. So any of the point layers that I'm going to be sharing in my org have been tagged with the tag of crimes, and any of the boundary-related layers, like the district offices, districts, and divisions, have been tagged with the tag of boundaries. So now that I've got my group for sharing open data set up, I've got my layers that I'm ready to share, I can now start to configure my open data portal. To do that, I'll go to my organization. And just a reminder that if you want to configure your open data portal, you need to make sure that your named user account that you access your ArcGIS Online organization with is an administrator account. If your named user is not an administrator account, you need to identify who an administrator in your organization is and request administrator access. Here under my organization, I can see all of the members in my organization, and I can filter and search by role. And here is my organizational account, and I can see that I'm an administrator. So I have the right to open an open data portal using this account. To do that, I'll go to Edit Settings. And along the tabs on the left-hand side, I can see Open Data. If I click the Open Data tab, I'm going to get a prompt to enable open data. This activates the capabilities of the open data portal for your ArcGIS Online subscription. And I can see that I already have an open data site already up and running on this organization, but we're going to walk through creating a new one from scratch. To do that, I'll go to Manage Sites, and it will prompt me for a wizard to walk me through the process of creating a new open data site. If I go up to the Create New Site button, I can select this button, and it will begin to walk me through the wizard. I'm going to call this site Webinar Example Open Data Site. I can assign a prefix to the URL that my site will be assigned. Let's call it Webinar. I can add a browser icon if appropriate. I can control the extent of the data that my open data portal will cover, and I could also select the base map that I want. In this case, the light gray base map is fine. I'll then go to the bottom of the page and select Next to proceed on. Automatically, the Open Data Portal wizard will identify groups in my organization that have been enabled to support open data, and this is that open data group that I just showed you before. So I can add this open data group and all the data that's inside of it and make it available to this open data portal. So any data that is inside the open data group will be the data that is delivered into the open data portal. I'll select Next to proceed. Next thing that the wizard takes me through is the site editor. This is how I actually configure the look and the feel of my site. And there's a couple things I want to do here. First, I want to configure my site header. So I'm going to name my site Webinar Example Open Data. That'll be along the header of my portal. I can also add in a logo URL. In this case, I've uploaded a kind of badge icon that could be your departmental badge logo. I'm going to copy this particular link. I've stored this image up in ArcGIS Online, so it's accessible for me to use. And I'm going to paste it right into this box. And now I'm going to move on to capabilities in the content of my open data portal. And here you can see that I can now see my icon showing up on my site header. Now in the body content, this is where I can start to combine various widgets to make the front page of my portal. So I'm going to add a couple of widgets here. First, I'm going to take the existing widget here and I'm going to resize it a little bit. This is just sort of a descriptive text widget. I can click on it and change any of the text information in here. In this case, just because this is an example, I don't need to. I've also added a new widget, which you can see down below the text widget, and I can drag and move that widget over to the right. I can resize it. Oh, I can resize it to the size that is appropriate for this particular example. And what I'm going to do in this widget is change the widget from a text widget to a data listing widget. This is going to enable me to display a list of all of the data sets that I've made available in this open data portal. So I'll call this widget dataset list, and I'll set the maximum number of items it can show to 10. And then it's going to start to show me a list of all of the layers that I've put into my open data group. Now I'll just add a couple of additional widgets, and I'll be ready to go. Now I'm going to add a couple of image widgets. These are going to be an image that a user can click on to take the user to a pre-filtered grouping of the layers that I have in this open data portal. And so this is where the tags come in on your layers. As I mentioned previously, I had some crime and parolee layers, and then I had some district boundary layers, and I put tags on the parolee layer of a tag of crimes, and on the district boundary layers a tag of boundaries. Here I'm going to use an image widget, and I'm going to point to a hosted image that I've also hosted in ArcGIS Online. In this case, it's an image of kind of saying agency boundaries that I'll show you in just a second. And here is the URL of this image that I've hosted on AGOL, as you can see. I'm just going to copy this link. I'm going to paste it into the image source URL. And then this next box is the link that I want the image to link to. And in this case, what I want it to do is to perform a filtered query on my open data site that gives me just the data that's been tagged with the tag of boundaries. So to do that, I need to put in a link to the open data website, which is webinar.modelpd.opendata.arcgis.com. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of tweaking to that URL and add in datasets $Q equals, and then the tag that I want this URL to search, which is boundaries. So I'll press done here, and then it's going to show me that image that I just added in, and it says agency boundaries. And then I'm going to do that one more time for this particular widget. I'm going to add in an image that says crimes and offenders, and so this would be my kind of filtering that I would have for any layers that involve crimes or offender-related items. I'm going to grab an image that I'm going to use for that link, copy that link, paste it in here, and then again add in a link to my open data website, which is webinar.modelpd.opendata.arcgis.com/datasets $Q equals, in this case, the tag that I want to be filtering on is crimes. And now I can see that that image well. I can do a little bit of resizing on both of these images to get them to the same size. And then I can save my work, and I can come up to the top and preview my site. So now this is my site that just in a couple of minutes we've been able to put together. This is my open data portal. I've got a little bit of descriptive information. I've got a list of all of the data layers that I have available. And then you can also filter by a particular classification of data based on the tag that you assigned to each of those layers. So in this case, I can click on the agency boundaries link, and it will filter for me all of the items that have that particular link, my district offices, my districts, my divisions. I can go back here again, and I can go to crimes and offenders, and I can see here's my parolees data. And just to show some of the capabilities of ArcGIS Open Data Portal, if I select on the parolees link, I can see that I have access to a bunch of information here. I can see details about the various attributes inside the data set, a description of the data set. I can see a table of all of the records inside the data set. I can filter and sort this data. I can see charts of this data and can control ranges. If I wanted to do a standalone chart, I've got that ability as well. So I can do something like just see a breakdown of parolees by race and do a bar chart. If I've got numeric data, I can do things like histograms. And I can take any chart that's created using ArcGIS Online, and I've got the ability to embed that chart into any other website. So this is running a little slow, I apologize, but I've got the ability to take that chart and take that HTML code for that chart and embed it into any other website that I might want to share that chart into. In addition to table and charting capabilities, let me try this chart one more time. Hopefully the internet's running a little bit faster. Let me take a look at race. There we go. Now I can see a breakdown of the parolees by race, and as you can see, as I move my cursor across the bars, it interacts with the map. I can embed this chart with an iframe source code that I can put into HTML. I can also download this data as a spreadsheet, KML, or shapefile, or if I want to filter the data in advance and then download it, I can do that. And I can also consume this data either as a GeoJSON service or as a GeoService. I can also, in this particular map, I can expand the map. I can toggle between satellite view and a standard view. I can control some capability with respect to visualizing what the map looks like. I can click on any single point and get more information. But we also have some additional capabilities that exist in ArcGIS Open Data that you can configure using your site setup. So if I go back to my site editor, I've got the ability to go to Capabilities, and I can add in a few initial new capabilities to my Open Data site. Things like the ability to turn on heat map visualization, to support local projections, to enable geohash or location summary visualizations. So I'm going to turn on my location summaries and smart map and heat map visualization, save, and go back to my site to take a look at how I can utilize that those capabilities. So if I go back to my crimes and offenders button, and I can look at my parolees data layer, I can see now that because I have a large amount of data, I was able to see kind of as a general visualization a 1,000 records square that kind of gave me the total number of points in that general area. I can also start to activate additional visualizations. Here, it's symbolizing now by one of my numeric values, height. And I don't really care about that symbolization, frankly, but I can control different colors, and I can use graduated symbology to symbolize if I'm interested in. But I can also activate a heat map here to turn on a heat map of all of those parolee locations. Sorry, my internet's running a little slow and a little funny today. Once we get back here, let me take a look again quick and show you how that heat map renders. Oh, looks like my internet doesn't want to cooperate with me today. That's okay. So I think what you've gotten a sense out of that quick demonstration is that there are a lot of capabilities in an ArcGIS Open Data Portal. It's quite easy to build an ArcGIS Open Data Portal and get it spun up out of your ArcGIS Online organization in a short amount of time. Let's now look at a few examples of actual law enforcement agency and city customers who are using Open Data Portal currently. So the first here that you can see is the city of Tucson, Arizona. Tucson, Arizona has a number of different data sets available. And in particular, if you go to the public safety button down here, they've enabled a wide variety of data sets through the police department. So things like assaults against officers, officer-involved shooting incidents, police calls for service, police arrests, crime incidents. There's a lot of data that's accessible for the public on Tucson's Open Data Portal. Likewise, the city of Fayetteville, North Carolina, this is their Open Data Portal using ArcGIS Open Data Portal. They too have separate sections for police and fire. In their police section, they've got a lot of data, over 100 data sets on arsons and burglaries, shoplifting, sliced and diced in short-term ranges, long-term data. A lot of really useful data here to support citizen awareness through their Open Data Portal. Likewise, this is Philadelphia's Open Data Portal through ArcGIS Open Data, and if I search for police, I can see access to things like police stations, police service areas, complaint activity, and then year-by-year data sets on crime incidents. So what I've shown is 3 portals that are out-of-the-box capabilities. One of the other things that you can do with ArcGIS Open Data Portal is not just use that widget capability, but you can also completely style your Open Data Portal using custom HTML code if you want. And that's what's been done here. This is the Department of Homeland Security's Open Data Portal for infrastructure data. If you're not aware of this, this portal, this is a really useful place to go to get publicly accessible, non-classified data nationwide of an array of different infrastructure components that Department of Homeland Security makes available through ArcGIS Open Data. And all of the data sets here, literally hundreds of infrastructure data sets, can all be immediately brought into any map that you're utilizing, either an ArcMap on the desktop or an ArcGIS Online. Additionally, this is GeoHub's Los Angeles GeoHub. This is kind of some additional custom styling that Los Angeles has done for their Open Data Portal, where they have the same ability to deliver to citizens data grouped by sets, but then also highlighting specific mapping applications that they've made available to the public. So that's kind of an overview of the ArcGIS Open Data capabilities that come with ArcGIS Online and what some customers are doing with it. Now let's take a look at some example apps that you can configure on ArcGIS Online that support open analysis and citizen outreach. So the first one that I want to highlight is an app that we put together as an example based on data that is provided publicly via Austin PD. Currently, Austin Police Department provides a 14-year data set via Microsoft Excel on officer-involved shootings and produces an associated hard copy report. Here, we've made that data and report come alive by creating a public dashboard that enables citizens to interrogate the data, to see widgets that provide breakdowns by different types and that are interactive with the map. So I can click on a particular item in a widget and it activates the associated points on the map. And you can zoom in and zoom out of this map, and you can ask questions. Okay, show me the people that were injured in an officer-involved shooting by year, and I can see those appear seamlessly on the map. What's also nice about this particular application is that this dashboard has been wrapped in one of our other app templates called a story map. The story map is essentially this thing along the left-hand side that enables me to tab through different aspects of officer-involved shootings that I might like to call the public's attention to. So here now I've got some data on officer characteristics involved in those shootings. And now the dashboard has changed to show attributes associated with officer characteristics in those shootings, or temporal patterns. So I can provide kind of a view into each different facet of an analysis. So in this way, I'm helping citizens to query data seamlessly, but also providing some important context to the data so that they're able to be able to interpret that data effectively and while receiving the messaging that you as an organization want to make sure that they understand about that data. A second type of application that can support open analysis is public crime maps. So there are lots of different public crime maps. Many jurisdictions nowadays offer a public crime mapping application, but you can offer mapping applications for use of force data, for complaint data, for calls for service data. Any of your open data sets can also have an associated open analysis app that enables citizens to ask simple questions. Here, this app enables citizens to do a number of different things with a bunch of different widgets that are set up along the bottom of the app. I've got a legend. I've got the ability to turn on and off various layers. Here I've got robberies, and I've got some robbery hotspots turned on. I can control the base map that I want to display. I can filter data. So here I can search for Part 1 crimes by type and date range. And I can also limit my search to a particular area that I define. I can also get information from a chart. So I can look at crime by type in a particular area. So let's say I'm interested in knowing more about the breakdown of crime in the downtown area. I can select an area that I'm interested in, draw a little circle around it, press apply, and now I can see the breakdown of crime for that particular area. So this is a very dynamic way that's easy for citizens to utilize to answer questions that they might have, and it's easy to build as well. Now I'm going to show you what this looks like from a building perspective. So this is the editor view of the exact same application that I just showed you. I've got the ability in this application to change a number of things. I can change the theme of the app. This is using our web app builder application. So I can change the theme of the app. I can change the color of the app. And as I make changes, those changes are instantly reflected in the app. So I can see my changes immediately. I can control what map goes into this application, what the extent of the map is, view scales, but the real important piece here is building an app based on a combination of widgets that meet the specific functional needs that you have. So I can add a new widget to this app and select from about 25 different widgets that have different functionality that allow me to combine whatever tools that I want to serve the purpose that I have. And each one of those widgets is configurable that I can add in what I want, control how it's going to work, and none of this requires coding. It's all very intuitive, very self-evident, and there's well-documented help for each widget and for each application. So it takes app building away from purely the realm of developers to enabling analysts, GIS professionals, and frankly, even people with just a little bit of technical savvy or willingness to try. It empowers them to become builders of apps that can support public needs. So that's an example of kind of a public mapping application that you could build using App Builder. And another app that I wanted to show that I think is a great example comes from the Cincinnati Police Department, who did an analysis of car break-ins and shared that information out to the public using one of our other web app templates called a story map. This story map enables citizens to interrogate this map, be able to see which neighborhoods have high levels of car break-ins, but then it also provides some of that important context information. Why is it a problem? What are the comparisons across neighborhoods? And some information about preventative tips. So from here, the citywide view, I can look at district by district. They've provided an analysis of high-risk areas, particularly the street segments, for theft from motor vehicles, what Cincinnati Police Department is doing in this area to address it, and who is the commanding officer for that area that I can go to as a citizen if I have questions or concerns. So each of the districts has this kind of analysis, and then at the end they've also embedded into this story map a YouTube video on how to prevent car break-ins, to improve citizen awareness of what they can be doing to prevent their car from being the victim of a theft from auto. So it's a really great example of how you provide not only the mapping capability in the analysis, but the context of the analysis and the data to help citizens become more informed. On citizen outreach, we've got a number of different examples. Things like story maps that have been configured here by San Luis Obispo Police Department. Here, this is a neighborhood map that shows their community police officers, the community area that each community police officer is responsible for, and a picture of the officer and contact information. So in this case, as it relates to building public trust, you as a citizen are able to, using this app, put a face to a name for an officer that's responsible for working and engaging with you in your community, and showing the areas that each officer has responsible for them as part of their community policing responsibilities. Another simple way to help engage citizens and make them more aware of who to talk to and who to reach out to when they've got questions or concerns is this simple embedded app inside a web page at the City of Rochester, New York. Here, this app helps citizens look up a particular address, whether it's their address, and they want to type it into this search bar at the top, or if it is just navigating the map, they can find any location, and they can see within this within that location what is the police district that that location belongs to, who's the supervisor, what's the location of that district office, the contact number, and the office hours. So at a glance, very simple way to find information about your agency. And then just lastly, you know, another great way to engage citizens about the positive work that you do is by building story maps that help highlight great investigations or positive police work. This is an example of a story map that was built to highlight a multinational investigation into extortion over the internet that was facilitated by the Philippines National Police, several other different national policing organizations, and Interpol. So it together brings contextual stories, dynamic maps that help set why this particular investigation came to be, the different countries in which countries that were involved, the specific organized crime groups that were involved in the extortion ring, and then the actual takedown activities. So it kind of highlights the good investigative work that was done by these organizations as well as Interpol. So this is a way to promote the positive activities that your organization is doing. So hopefully in the last few minutes you've got a sense of the wide range of capability that Esri can provide to agencies who are trying to improve community outreach efforts, trying to improve public trust, attempting to be more transparent with citizens. And that was a lot to see, but where do you actually start? And the really good thing about all these capabilities is that everything you've seen is out of the box. So if you're an analyst, a GIS professional, or like I mentioned before, if you're just a person that's got a little technical savvy or is willing to try, you can do almost all of what you've seen yourself. And so at high level, there are really three things that you need to do to get started. First, you need the platform that supports it all, ArcGIS Online. You're going to need to set up an ArcGIS Online organizational account for your organization. And you need to have a named user account with administrative privileges that you can use to build all of this capability. And as ArcGIS Online uses credits as part of your subscription to host services, you want to make sure that depending on the amount of data that you want to store, your account has sufficient numbers of credits to support the data sets that you're publishing, and that's something that your Esri account manager can help you with. If you are an existing Esri customer, you may already have rights to an ArcGIS Online organizational and named user accounts, as I mentioned earlier. Those rights come either if you already have an enterprise licensing agreement with Esri, or through desktop entitlement licenses, which come as part of your on-maintenance license to ArcMap. So if you're interested in learning more whether or not you already have some of this capability as part of what you're paying for, contact support@esri.com to find out if your existing licensing already grants you rights to ArcGIS Online. So once you've got your ArcGIS Online organization set up, then you need to get your data that you want into your open data portal, published into your ArcGIS Online organization. So that's going to need to have GIS ready data. So if you already have shape files or feature classes that are ready to go, they just need to be published up into ArcGIS Online. Or if you just have spreadsheets, you can publish that from either ArcGIS Maps for Office, which enables you to take your spreadsheets and turn them into maps from Microsoft Excel. Or if you have CSV files, you can simply bring them right into ArcGIS Online and geocode them and create services from them right from ArcGIS Online. Once your data is up into ArcGIS Online, you may want to automate the process of bringing in new data and adding new data to ArcGIS Online. If you go to solutions.arcgis.com, we have an incident maps solution template that will help you update spreadsheet data, geocode it if necessary, and then publish those new updates to your data up into your ArcGIS Online organization. And you can use Windows Task Scheduler to schedule this tool so that it runs automatically every day, week, month, whatever time cycle you're interested in to publish new data into your open data portal. Then once you've got all your data ready to go, then it's on to configuration. The open data portals I showed today, and then building web maps that can then feed those applications like Operations Dashboard, Web App Builder, and Story Map Template, all of which, as you said, are configurable and don't require any coding. They follow wizards, they're very intuitive, and they're extensively documented, so you can do it yourself if you want to. But if you don't have time or the resources to do it yourself, Esri can help with our ArcGIS for Public Trust and Police Transparency offering to help you jumpstart your outreach efforts. This offering includes all the basic licensing you might need, as well as a five-day professional services package to set up and configure your ArcGIS Online organization, your open data portal, enable 5 key data sets as well as your jurisdiction's offices, beats, and boundaries, and then configure 3 apps of your choice from the examples we've shown today. Additionally, if you're an existing IA Pro customer using IA Pro to manage your use of force data, we partner with CI Technologies to help you get your use of force data directly integrated into ArcGIS Online. So before we open it up for questions, I wanted to direct you to a few more resources if you're interested in getting started with ArcGIS Online to support your open data and public app needs. And I've got some links here. Don't worry if you aren't able to write them all down. We'll make sure that these links get out in a follow-up email to everyone who attended the webinar. But some of these additional resources include, we have a general free training seminar on how to get started with ArcGIS Open Data that you'll find at esriurl.com/opendatastart. There is a blog that our Open Data project managers maintain to keep you up to speed on all the new features that are coming out with Open Data. As with everything in ArcGIS Online, there are updates and constant improvements made 4 times a year. Every quarter there's new capabilities and tools that are coming out in ArcGIS Online, and that includes our Open Data capabilities as well. We have a rich user community who are already using Open Data. You can ask questions of other users and get help on our GeoNet community at esriurl.com/opendatageonet. We've got extensive help documentation to help you get started beyond what you saw here today. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about the different ways that ArcGIS supports police efforts to improve public trust and police legitimacy, we've built our own story map that helps you understand those capabilities and communicate them to others in your organization. And then lastly, as I mentioned, that free incident map solution template that you can download to automate the geocoding and publishing of your data to ArcGIS Online. Okay, so we've got a little bit of time left, and John and I at this point wanted to open it up for questions. I know some people have been sending questions in the chat window. John, do you have a few that you've identified that that we can help answer?
I do. I do, and we kind of had a theme in some of the questions. So can you talk a little bit about the difference between ArcGIS Online and Portal, and how you control what data is shared with the public and what's not?
Sure. Yeah. So in ArcGIS Online is your organizational portal for any geographic information that you want to share into your organization. So ArcGIS Online has kind of 2 levels of security. The first level is to anyone who is a named user in your organization. So for example, in this example organization that I showed, Chris Delaney would be a named user, and John Beck would be a named user. And I can provision rights to certain data at a group level and assign individual users to a group. So only the people who are part of that group can see the data that I've assigned to that group. No one else can see that data. No one else has access to that data. So I can control down to essentially a user-based level who has access to various data sets. So that's kind of the main level of security. Even though it's going to ArcGIS Online, it's only accessible to the people in your specific organization that you assign access to. At the sort of next level, if you want to, you can make any data set available out to the general public from ArcGIS Online. And that's really what you're doing with ArcGIS Open Data. You're enabling a particular data set to become publicly available so that anyone can see it, they can bring it into any application and use it for any purpose. And you're going to display it and make it available through your Open Data portal. So Open Data, ArcGIS Open Data portal is really a facet of ArcGIS Online, and ArcGIS Online lets you do a lot of things for your law enforcement organization. So you can use the security of ArcGIS Online to ensure that only your investigators have access to investigative relevant data sets, and only your patrol officers have access to certain data that's appropriate for them. No one in the public can see that data, and you could even control it so that the patrol officers couldn't see what the investigators had and vice versa. So there's a robust layer of security that's available in ArcGIS Online that can control who can see what inside your individual organizational portal, but then you also have the ability to share data that you want as appropriate out to the public.
What if the city owns licensing and the police department wants to leverage some of that licensing? Can that be done in a separate group for the police department?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So what's commonly done for cities is that police departments can leverage the existing city ArcGIS Online organization, and if they want, they can publish their very own open data portal. So ArcGIS Online doesn't have a restriction on the number of open data portals that you could create. So if you wanted to make your own separate open data portal off of the city's ArcGIS Online organization, you're totally capable of doing that. Additionally, if you wanted to have groups just for specific units in your law enforcement agency, but it was part of the city's ArcGIS Online organization, you could do that and provision those groups just to users in particular units in your agency, and the rest of the city users wouldn't have access to the information that you shared into those particular groups for those units.
Thanks. And does it cost credits to set up an open data portal?
No. So if you're not familiar with licensing for ArcGIS Online, typically the way the licensing works is at a certain subscription level, you'll get a certain number of named users and you'll get a certain number of credits. The credits in ArcGIS Online go towards things like the storing of data and utilizing some of the online analysis services that we make available through ArcGIS Online. The ArcGIS Open Data Portal itself does not consume any credits for building a portal. Hosting data using ArcGIS Online does consume some of the credits that you've been provisioned, but building an open data portal itself does not.
Thanks. Got a couple more here, so let's try and do one or two more. Is there an app that allows officers to collect data from the field in an offline mode that they can then share later with the network?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So one of the apps that we have that comes with your ArcGIS Online subscription is called Collector for ArcGIS. It's a native app for iOS, Android, and Windows Phone. And what it enables you to do is access any of the web maps that your named user account has access to in your ArcGIS Online organization. And if you've got editing privileges to that map and the data that's inside of it, one of the things that you can do with the app is if, let's say, you're inside your precinct office before you're going out to do work. As long as you're in the precinct Wi-Fi, you can select the area that you're going to go out and work in the field, and it will cache all of the maps and all of the data onto your device. And then you can go out in the field in a completely disconnected environment, no internet at all, do work, collect data, and then once you go back to the precinct office and hit the Wi-Fi, that data will all sync up to your ArcGIS organizational portal. So it becomes a way in which you can do work without having the internet and then come back into an internet-connected area and sync up all your work. And that's part of your ArcGIS Online organizational subscription.
So we're about out of time, so let's wrap up the questions. If we didn't get to your question, don't worry, we can take the conversation offline after the webinar. Also, yep, that's just what I was going to say. Our next webinar will be the third Thursday in May, and it's going to be, we're real excited about this. It's a new crime analysis toolbox preview. You want to talk about it a little bit, Chris?
Yeah, so sure. One of the things that we're trying to do on the law enforcement team is to organize solutions for crime analysts more effectively. So we're starting to put together a crime analysis toolbox that will combine new tools that we'll create for analysts as well as existing tools in our toolbox that are often used or relevant for analysts. The first two tools that we're releasing are new capabilities to ArcMap and they revolve around the use of repeat and near repeat victimization methodology. There'll be two tools, one that helps you classify near repeat patterns in your data, and the second one that helps you create prediction risk areas to support predictive policing efforts using near repeat victimization phenomena. So an exciting new addition that we're looking forward to sharing with the law enforcement and analyst community, and that'll be on next month's webinar.
Well, thanks for joining us. We're out of time, and we'll see you next month.
Thanks, everyone.